What if a rushed dinner shift at Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant became the moment that changed everything? When billionaire tech CEO William Montgomery's infant daughter stops breathing at his table, it's not the renowned doctors dining nearby who save her, but Alicia Carter, a single mother working her third job, who rushes forward with forgotten CPR training. The miracle she performs in those 70 heart-stopping seconds will shatter class barriers, expose long-buried secrets, and set in motion a chain of events that neither could have imagined. The alarm blares at 4:30 a.m., and Alicia Carter swipes it silent before it can wake Jamal. Her fingers trace the spiderweb crack on her phone screen as she blinks away exhaustion, calculating the hours until her next shift. 5 hours of sleep never feels like enough. The small bedroom is still dark as she slides her feet into worn slippers, navigating around the twin bed where her 8-year-old son sleeps soundly, his small frame barely disturbing the second-hand Batman comforter. Bills cover the kitchen counter, their red final notice stamps glowing like accusatory eyes in the dim light of the single bulb overhead. Alicia sorts them by urgency, a ritual more depressing than morning prayer. Rent, electricity, medical bills from Jamal's asthma attack last winter, and the student loans that represent both her greatest hope and heaviest burden. She tucks her nursing textbooks into her bag, along with a sandwich for lunch and the tip money she earned yesterday. Every dollar has a purpose in her world. The bathroom mirror reflects shadows under her eyes that concealer cannot fully hide, but her uniform is pressed perfectly. A small dignity she refuses to surrender. A gentle knock at the door signals Mrs. Rodriguez from apartment 4B has arrived to watch Jamal until school. The elderly woman enters on arthritic knees, bringing the scent of cinnamon and a knowing smile. They exchange few words, this routine so familiar after 3 years of early mornings. Alicia kneels beside her sleeping son's bed, breathing in the faint scent of the shampoo she buys when it's on sale. Her lips press against his forehead, warm and smooth. He stirs but doesn't wake, accustomed to these pre-dawn goodbyes. The wall above his bed displays his perfect attendance certificates, math competition ribbons, and a photo of him in his crisp school uniform, his smile missing 2 front teeth. The full scholarship to Brighton Academy had been a miracle, one she works 3 jobs to support with transportation, books, and the occasional field trip. Her fingers linger on his cheek before she stands, shoulders straightening with resolve. The apartment is small but meticulously clean, dishes washed and homework checked, library books stacked for return. Even the threadbare couch has been vacuumed. Pride has many forms, and hers lives in these details. Mrs. Rodriguez settles into the room's single, comfortable chair, crochet needles already clicking. Alicia checks her watch, calculating buses and transfers to arrive at Lucille Restaurant by 5:45. If she works every shift available this month and picks up weekend hours at the pharmacy, she might make enough for Jamal's new uniform and her final tuition payment. Just 6 more months of this and I can finish my degree, she whispers to herself. A mantra, repeated on countless mornings. The door closes softly behind her as she enters the dimly lit hallway, her badge for the hospital night shift already tucked into her bag alongside her waitressing apron, symbols of the world she moves between while others sleep. Friends, before we go further, may I ask a small favor? Please subscribe to our channel. It truly helps us keep bringing you these stories, and reaching 1,000 subscribers soon is so important for us to continue. We also love hearing from you. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It's always fascinating to see how our little storytelling circle is spreading across the world. And if you enjoyed the beginning, give this video a like, and let's share thoughts on the whole story together below. Lucille transforms as William Montgomery enters, his presence sending ripples through the restaurant like a stone dropped in still water. The maitre d' rushes forward, practically bowing as he greets the CEO whose net worth exceeds the annual revenue of several small nations. William walks with the confident stride of a man accustomed to owning every room he enters. Custom Italian shoes, silent against plush carpet, his daughter Lily cradled against his chest in a carrier that costs more than Alicia's monthly rent. The infant wears a pale pink dress with matching headband, tiny pearl earrings catching the light from crystal chandeliers overhead. Miss Chen, the nanny, follows 2 steps behind, her posture perfect and expression professionally neutral despite the late hour. The restaurant glows with soft, golden light reflecting off hand-blown glass sculptures and imported marble. Conversations hushed as though the very act of speaking too loudly might reveal one as unworthy of their table reservation. William selects a private alcove near the window, overlooking Central Park, the Manhattan skyline twinkling beyond like a galaxy of earthbound stars. He surprises Miss Chen by dismissing her for the evening, his voice firm, but not unkind. "I want time with just Lily tonight," he explains, ignoring how her eyebrows lift slightly in surprise. This deviates from their carefully maintained schedule, but William Montgomery is not a man whose decisions require justification. Miss Chen nods once, provides unnecessarily detailed instructions about Lily's last feeding and next nap, then retreats with measured steps. Alone with his daughter, William gently lifts her from the carrier, awkward but determined, his massive hands dwarfing her tiny form. His phone buzzes again, the 7th time in 20 minutes. Montec stock dropping 2 points after rumors of clinical trial complications. His assistant needs approval on the Beijing contract revisions. Legal wants to discuss the Parker lawsuit. William silences the notifications without checking the details, a rare act of rebellion against the empire that consumes nearly every waking hour. Across the room, Alicia watches from the serving station, mentally dividing customers into likely tip percentages. The overdue rent notice required $317 by Monday. The Montgomery table will be Marcus territory tonight, the senior server always claiming VIPs. She adjusts her perfectly pressed uniform, throat tight with a familiar mix of resentment and determination. The restaurant manager approaches William with the practiced smile of a professional supplicant, bowing slightly as he personally hands over menus engraved with today's date. "We are so honored by your presence, Mr. Montgomery." The chef has prepared several special options, not on the regular menu. William nods without looking up, his attention fixed on Lily as she grasps his finger with her entire hand. The manager continues praising the evening specials, voice honeyed with deference, while simultaneously signaling staff to adjust lighting, temperature, and music for their most valued patron. Alicia begins preparing water service for her assigned section. Her movements efficient, despite 11 hours already on her feet at the pharmacy earlier today. She calculates potential tips from her 5 tables against tomorrow morning hospital shift, wondering if Jamal will be asleep before she makes it home tonight. Her gaze drifts again to the Montgomery table, noting how the billionaire's fingers tremble slightly as he attempts to adjust his daughter's blanket, an unexpectedly human gesture from a man whose face regularly appears on financial magazines. The delicate clink of fine china and murmured conversations fill Le Ciel when the rhythm of the evening shatters with a sound no parent ever forgets. A strangled gasp from baby Lily cuts through ambient piano music as William attempts to feed her a tiny spoonful of pureed organic pears. The spoon clatters to the marble floor as Lily's face contorts, her lips parting in silent struggle, skin rapidly shifting from rosy pink to alarming blue. "Something is wrong," William whispers, his voice rising as understanding dawns. "She can't breathe. Help us. Someone help us." His composed CEO persona evaporates instantly, replaced by primal parental terror. He stands, Lily clutched awkwardly against his chest, her tiny limbs now rigid. "Help, my baby can't breathe." The restaurant transforms from elegant dining establishment to chaotic scene of frozen spectators. A renowned cardiothoracic surgeon from table 7 rises, then hesitates, 3 glasses of wine compromising his confidence. 2 medical researchers debate proper infant protocol in urgent whispers while backing away. The manager frantically calls for an ambulance, his earlier obsequious manner replaced with barely controlled panic. William Montgomery, who commands boardrooms and navigates billion-dollar negotiations, stands paralyzed, watching his daughter struggle for air. His face drains of color as he repeats her name in broken whispers. Alicia moves before conscious thought forms, muscle memory from CPR training guiding her actions. She pushes through gawking customers, ignoring the manager attempting to block her path. Time slows as she reaches William. Her voice calm despite her racing heart. "Sir, I know infant CPR. Let me help her." When he doesn't respond, she gently but firmly takes Lily from his unresisting arms. Her hands steady as she positions the infant face down along her forearm. Head slightly lower than chest. With precise movements, she delivers 5 measured back blows between the shoulder blades with the heel of her hand, then checks Lily's airway. Finding the obstruction still present, she flips the baby to her back, places 2 fingers on the center of her chest just below the nipple line, and administers 5 chest compressions. The crowd watches in collective, held breath as Alicia repeats the sequence with unwavering focus. On the 3rd round, Lily convulses, expelling a small piece of food, and draws a shuddering breath followed by a piercing wail. The cry reverberates through the silent restaurant like music, the most beautiful sound imaginable. Color floods back into Lily's cheeks as she continues screaming, tiny fists flailing with indignation and renewed life. Alicia cradles her naturally, one hand supporting her head while the other pats gently between her shoulder blades, swaying slightly in the instinctive rhythm mothers have used to comfort infants since time began. Only now does she notice her own hands trembling with receding adrenaline and the weight of what nearly happened. The restaurant remains frozen in tableau, every eye fixed on the black waitress in her perfectly pressed uniform holding the sobbing child of one of the richest men in America. William Montgomery stares at Alicia with naked gratitude and shock, tears tracking unheeded down his face. Lily gradually calms against Alicia's chest, hiccuping softly, one tiny hand curling into the fabric of the uniform shirt. The spell breaks when the manager steps forward, his expression unreadable. "Perhaps you should return Miss Montgomery to her father now," he suggests, his tone making it less suggestion than command. Alicia meets William's gaze over the top of Lily's head, a moment of pure human connection transcending their vastly different worlds. The paramedics confirm what Alicia already knew, that their services are thankfully unnecessary. They offer professional praise for her quick action as they pack equipment and leave, the excitement gradually settling into a strange calm. Le Ciel attempts to resume its evening rhythm, though conversation remains hushed, diners stealing glances at the Montgomery table. William sits with Lily cradled protectively against his chest, her exhausted whimpers subsiding into sleep, tiny fingers curled around his silk tie. His face shows the aftermath of terror, skin ashen beneath his usual confident exterior. When Alicia approaches with fresh water service, he reaches into his jacket pocket and produces a thick fold of bills, offering them with a hand that still trembles slightly. "Please," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "I can't possibly." Her eyes widen at the denomination of the bills, enough to cover 6 months of rent. She gently pushes his hand back, her fingers briefly brushing against his in a moment of unexpected intimacy that sends an almost electric current between them. "I was just doing what anyone should do," she explains softly. "I'm studying nursing. This is what we're trained for." The touch lingers a heartbeat longer than necessary, neither immediately pulling away. Something passes between them, recognition perhaps, or understanding beyond their vastly different circumstances. His eyes search hers, finding sincerity rather than the calculated interest he usually encounters. "You have medical training," he observes, shifting from grateful father to analytical CEO, gathering information to make sense of what transpired. "Nursing school, 3rd year," she explains, her posture straight despite exhaustion. "I work here evenings, hospital nights, and pharmacy weekends." Her voice carries no self-pity, just factual assessment. William's gaze intensifies, cataloguing details he missed before. The intelligence in her eyes, the competent gentleness of her hands, the dignified pride in her bearing despite the server's uniform. He notices her wedding band, thin and worn. "Your husband must be proud," he ventures. "Was proud," she corrects quietly. "Afghanistan 3 years ago. His unit hit an IED. I'm raising our son alone." She doesn't mention the military bureaucracy that lost her husband's paperwork twice, delaying benefits for 18 months, or how she sold her car to keep their apartment during that time. William's expression shifts, something in her story resonating unexpectedly. He opens his mouth to respond when the restaurant manager materializes at Alicia's side, face fixed in a professional mask that doesn't reach his eyes. "Miss Carter, tables 7 and 12 need immediate attention," he says, tone clipped and cold. "While we're all certainly impressed with your medical skills, we still have a restaurant to run." His dismissive glance at Lily communicates clear priorities. "Other patrons deserve attention." Alicia straightens, professionalism reasserting itself. "Of course, Mr. Phillips." To William, she offers a small nod, neither subservient nor familiar, simply human. "I'm glad your daughter is all right." She turns to leave, but William's voice stops her. "Wait, please. I didn't even ask your name." She half turns, caught between worlds. "Alicia Carter." He commits it to memory, nodding once. "William Montgomery." As if she wouldn't know. As if his face doesn't appear regularly in business publications and charity gala photos. "Thank you, Alicia Carter." The manager clears his throat pointedly, and Alicia returns to her duties, feeling the weight of William's gaze following her across the room as she slips back into her assigned role. The moment of connection already fading like a dream upon waking. Alicia arrives for her shift at Le Ciel exactly 17 minutes early as always, her uniform freshly pressed despite washing it in her bathroom sink after midnight. The restaurant feels different somehow, servers glancing her way with expressions ranging from admiration to resentment. Conversation stopping when she enters the break room. "Mr. Phillips summons her to the small office behind the wine cellar before service begins, his desktop displaying an open spreadsheet of reservations. His office smells of expensive cologne and subtle disapproval. The reprimand begins immediately. Without preamble or appreciation for her life-saving actions the previous night. "Your behavior yesterday was completely unprofessional," he states, fingers steepled on the polished desk. "We have protocols for emergencies that don't involve staff manhandling our VIP guests or their children. Creating a public spectacle reflects poorly on Le Ciel and our standards of service." The words fall like slaps, each one more stunning than the last. Alicia stands perfectly still, exhaustion from her hospital night shift making the room seem slightly unreal, as Mr. Phillips continues cataloguing her supposed transgressions. Several guests complained about the disruption to their dining experience. "You abandoned your assigned tables to insert yourself into a situation where your assistance wasn't requested. Most seriously, you touched Mr. Montgomery and his child without permission. A boundary violation we simply cannot tolerate." With each accusation, Alicia opens her mouth to defend herself, only to close it again, recognizing the futility. The decision has clearly been made before she entered the room. Effective immediately. You'll be reassigned to kitchen support duties until we determine if your continued employment aligns with our establishment's values. Your pay will adjust accordingly. The 15% reduction in hourly wage flashes in Alicia's mind, calculated instantly against her budget with devastating clarity. Several regular patrons had specifically asked for her section today, wanting to thank her personally for her quick thinking. But Mr. Phillips dismisses this information with a wave of his manicured hand. The kitchen staff regards her with curiosity when she appears in her modified uniform, demoted from public view like a shameful secret. Across town, in a sleek downtown office tower, a junior social media manager shows her supervisor a video taken by a diner at Le Ciel. The footage, shaky but clear enough, shows Alicia performing infant CPR on Lily Montgomery, the dramatic rescue already accumulating hundreds of thousands of views, comments, and shares across multiple platforms. By early afternoon, national news outlets have picked up the story, though neither the heroic waitress nor the grateful CEO have been identified by name yet. Hashtags multiply like digital wildfire. Alicia knows nothing of her growing internet fame as she completes her shift, catches the bus across town for 4 hours at the pharmacy, then finally trudges up 5 flights of stairs to her apartment well after 11. Her neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, reports that Jamal finished his homework and went to bed without complaint, though he wished his mother could help with his science project. The envelope taped to her door bears the property management company's logo, its contents confirming her worst fears. Final eviction notice. 72 hours to pay in full or vacate. She manages to hold herself together through thanking Mrs. Rodriguez, checking on her sleeping son, and washing her uniform for tomorrow, only when Jamal is deeply asleep, his breathing slow and peaceful. Does she finally sink to the bathroom floor, silent tears streaming down her face as she covers her mouth to muffle the sobs that rack her exhausted body. William stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office. The Manhattan skyline spread before him like a personal kingdom, though his attention focuses entirely on the tablet in his hands. The viral video plays for the 6th time, showing Alicia Carter calmly taking his daughter, performing life-saving measures with practiced precision. What disturbs him isn't the incident itself, but how thoroughly has been edited from the narrative. The 15-second clip conveniently omits his frozen panic, his complete helplessness in the face of crisis. Social media has transformed a deeply personal moment of failure and salvation into inspirational content, already viewed millions of times across platforms. Black waitress saves billionaire's baby reads one headline, reducing both him and Alicia to convenient stereotypes for public consumption. The video loops again, Lily's tiny body going from blue to pink, from silent to screaming. His security team has already identified 8 separate recordings from different angles, all spreading exponentially online. Rebecca, his chief of staff, enters without knocking, her expression suggesting yet another fire requiring his attention. She begins their morning briefing with practiced efficiency. The London merger is proceeding on schedule. Legal has prepared responses to the FDA inquiry. The restaurant called about handling the situation with the waitress. William raises a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. What situation with what waitress? Rebecca blinks, momentarily thrown by the edge in his normally controlled voice. Le Ciel, she clarifies, consulting her tablet. The establishment where you dined yesterday. Their management wanted to assure us they disciplined the employee for her inappropriate behavior and breach of protocol. The temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees as William sets down his tablet with deliberate care. They disciplined her. For saving my daughter's life. Rebecca shifts uncomfortably, recognizing dangerous terrain. Apparently she's been removed from customer, facing duties and reprimanded. They wanted to ensure you were satisfied with their handling of the incident. William's jaw tightens as something long dormant stirs within him, memories he usually keeps carefully compartmentalized. the taste of powdered milk stretched to last the week, his mother's hands, cracked and red from cleaning other people's homes. The shame of free lunch tickets in the school cafeteria. Before Montech, before Stanford, before the venture capital and acquisitions and penthouses, William Montgomery had been Billy Montoya from South Phoenix, son of a single mother who worked 3 jobs and still couldn't make rent some months. A reality head spent 2 decades methodically erasing from his biography, reinventing himself so completely even his closest associates knew nothing of that desperate boy. The sharp contrast between who he had been and what he had become suddenly feels less like achievement and more like betrayal. Find out everything about Alicia Carter, he tells Rebecca, voice quiet but brooking no argument. Employment history, education, financial situation, family, everything. And get me Phillips from the restaurant on the phone. Now. Rebecca nods, recognizing a tone she hasn't heard from her boss in years. Not since the early days when he was still hungry, still fighting to prove himself, before success smoothed his rough edges into polished corporate veneer. As she leaves to make the calls, William turns back to the window, seeing not the impressive skyline but his own reflection superimposed over it, a stranger in an expensive suit who had forgotten his own origin story until a waitress with steady hands reminded him. Across town, Alicia scrubs pots in the Le Ciel kitchen, unaware that forces have been set in motion that will soon collide with her carefully structured world of work and sacrifice. The rain falls in sheets as Alicia arrives at Le Ciel, her worn umbrella offering minimal protection, shoes already soaked from the 2 bus transfers. Her employee entrance card beeps red instead of green, an electronic rejection that makes her stomach clench with foreboding. Mr. Phillips waits inside the service entrance, a manila envelope in his manicured hands, expression suggesting he smells something unpleasant. Upon review of your conduct, we've determined your continued employment poses liability concerns, he informs her, voice clinically detached. You violated guest privacy by participating in a recorded incident involving a high-profile patron without consent. Your final pay has been processed, minus uniform replacement costs. The envelope contains her termination paperwork and a check for $167.23. No severance, no notice period, no recourse. The injustice burns in her throat as she stands dripping on the imported tile floor, calculating the impossibility of paying rent with this amount, of feeding Jamal, of covering next semester's tuition. Her perfectly pressed uniform, still warm from the iron this morning, now seems like a cruel joke. She walks away in stunned silence, the rain intensifying as though the sky itself shares her misery. Her umbrella collapses under a sudden gust, leaving her fully exposed to the downpour that plasters her clothes to her skin and washes mascara down her cheeks in black rivulets. 3 blocks from the restaurant, voices call her name, strangers somehow knowing who she is. Miss Carter, can we get a statement? Alicia, over here. How does it feel to be a hero? She looks up to find 5 reporters surrounding her, cameras and microphones thrust toward her face, questions overlapping in a disorienting cacophony. The waitress angel, one calls her, the woman who saved the Montgomery baby. Another asks if it's true she was fired for her heroic actions. Confusion overtakes her as she backs away, unsure how these people know her name or what happened at Le Ciel. Her heel catches on a sidewalk crack, balance faltering as the press of bodies tightens around her like predators sensing weakness. A sleek black car pulls alongside the curb, rear door swinging open as a woman with an elegant silver bob and sharply tailored suit emerges, holding an umbrella large enough to shield them both. Miss Carter, please allow me to offer you transportation, she says, her tone making it less offer than instruction. The reporters hesitate, cameras still rolling as the woman smoothly positions herself between Alicia and the media. My name is Eleanor Vaughan, she continues. I'm not your enemy, and neither are they, but I suspect you'd prefer this conversation happen somewhere dry. Something in her calm authority creates a small bubble of order amid the chaos. Alicia slides into the car, its leather interior smelling of wealth and security. A world away from public transportation and soaked clothing, Eleanor joins her, closing the door on the shouted questions as the vehicle pulls smoothly into traffic. Inside, a man in his 50s with kind eyes and a bow tie offers a warm towel and introduces himself as James Harrington, legal counsel to William Montgomery. The video of you saving Lily Montgomery has over 7 million views across platforms. He explains gently. You've become something of a sensation overnight, though clearly without your knowledge or consent. They show her the footage on a tablet, her own face looking back as she performs CPR on the tiny infant. People are calling you a hero, Miss Carter, Eleanor says. Mr. Montgomery agrees with that assessment. We understand you've been terminated from your position at Le Ciel. Her gaze is appraising but not unkind. Mr. Montgomery would like to make you an offer of employment, effective immediately. Personal childcare provider for Lily Montgomery. The salary figure she mentions is more than Alicia's 3 current jobs combined. The rain continues beating against tinted windows as Alicia struggles to process this abrupt reversal of fortune. Suspicious of gifts that seem too perfect, too timely, Regina Winters watches the viral video for the 14th time, manicured nail tapping thoughtfully against her crystal whiskey tumbler, the Manhattan skyline from her office nearly identical to the view from Williams, but positioned exactly opposite across the city, a visual metaphor for their perpetual opposition. Opportunity has a scent, her father taught her, like blood in water drawing sharks. This saccharine story of heroic waitress saves billionaires' baby reeks of it. The PR department's assessment indicates public sentiment overwhelmingly favors Montgomery, with Montec's stock rising 2 points since the video emerged, infuriating Regina anew. 7 years ago, William had outmaneuvered her in the Meridian Pharmaceuticals acquisition, a takeover that became the cornerstone of his medical division while her company, Winters Innovations, absorbed a $400 million loss. Now he parades as a benevolent corporate savior, while her board questions her ability to compete with his expansions. She summons her head of security, Marcus Chen, with a single text message. He arrives within minutes, eternally efficient in his charcoal suit and perpetual expression of calm readiness. Find me leverage, she instructs, sending the waitress video to his tablet. Everything on Montgomery and everything on this woman, Alicia Carter. The perfect family man image has cracks, and I want to pry them open. Marcus nods once, understanding that ethical boundaries are flexible concepts in this assignment. 72 hours later, he returns with 2 digital files, one considerably thicker than the other. The William Montgomery file reveals what careful image management has long concealed. Birth certificate for William Guillermo Montoya Jr., son of Maria Elena Montoya, father unknown. Housing assistance applications from South Phoenix. Free lunch program enrollment. A sealed juvenile record. Name change petition filed at age 20. The carefully constructed mythology of the self-made billionaire contains just enough truth to be believable, but Regina recognizes something familiar in this pattern of reinvention. A man running from his origins carries perpetual fear of their discovery. The Alicia Carter file proves equally illuminating. Exemplary nursing student. Son enrolled in prestigious academy on scholarship. Struggling financially despite working 3 jobs. Most interestingly, military records indicating her husband, Staff Sergeant Darnell Carter, may not have died in Afghanistan as she believes. Further investigation reveals anomalies in the casualty report, sealed medical records, and a transfer to a long-term care facility under a classified program designation. Marcus explains the evidence suggesting Carter suffered traumatic brain injury and memory loss. His identity possibly withheld for reasons connected to his final mission. Even more intriguing, the facility appears in Montec's financial disclosures under their charitable foundation expenditures. Regina feels the familiar thrill of discovering an opponent's vulnerability, a chess player spotting the path to checkmate several moves ahead. The connection between Montgomery and Carter remains unclear, possibly coincidental. But coincidence is often the universe offering a gift to those paying attention. She constructs the narrative possibilities, calculating angles and approaches. If Montgomery hired this woman out of genuine gratitude, exposing his humble origins would merely humanize him further. But if he knows something about her husband, if there are darker connections between Montec and military medical programs, if he sought her out specifically rather than by chance, then Regina holds the threads to unravel everything he built. She instructs Marcus to continue the investigation while she initiates contact with Alicia Carter, recognizing that information functions best as a weapon when deployed with surgical precision. William always underestimated her because she was born to wealth rather than clawing her way up from nothing. His greatest mistake was believing hunger only comes from deprivation, failing to recognize that inherited ambition burns just as fiercely, perhaps more dangerously for never having known satisfaction. Alicia steps into the private elevator of the Montgomery residence with Jamal holding her hand tightly, both of them wide-eyed at the fingerprint scanner and voice recognition system. The decision to accept William's offer came down to brutal mathematics, the salary solving immediate problems of eviction, tuition, and stability. A private room for Jamal within the penthouse and flexibility to attend nursing classes sealed her reluctant agreement. Still, entering the foyer of the Montgomery home feels like crossing into another dimension, one where floors gleam with imported marble and ceilings soar 20 feet overhead. Her entire apartment would fit in this entryway with room to spare. Eleanor Vaughan provides a brisk orientation, explaining security protocols, household schedules, and expectations with professional efficiency, while Jamal gapes at a wall aquarium containing tropical fish in impossible colors. William's home occupies the top 3 floors of the building, accessible only through private elevator and secured entry points. Art worth more than Alicia's lifetime, earning potential adorns walls of subtle cream and grey. The contrast between this opulence and her apartment with its water-stained ceiling and temperamental plumbing creates a sense of unreality, as though she stepped into a movie rather than another Manhattan residence. William appears with Lily in his arms, his demeanor oscillating between corporate formality and awkward gratitude. He welcomes them with practiced charm that falters slightly when Lily immediately reaches for Alicia, tiny hands opening and closing in unmistakable preference. The previous nanny resigned this morning, Eleanor explains in an undertone, after Miss Montgomery refused bottle feedings for 2 days. William watches with poorly concealed fascination as Lily settles contentedly against Alicia's shoulder, the baby's previous fussiness evaporating upon contact. Something too personal flashes in his expression before the professional mask returns. The following days establish new rhythms as Alicia adapts to caring for Lily while managing Jamal's adjustment. Lily thrives under her attention, meeting developmental milestones that previous nanny reports suggested were delayed. William maintains careful distance, their interactions limited to morning handoffs and evening reports, though she often feels his gaze following her when he believes she won't notice. His struggles with professional boundaries become apparent in small ways. Lingering questions about her nursing studies or Jamal's school progress, extending beyond employer interest, quickly corrected when he catches himself showing too much curiosity. The gleaming nursery contains every imaginable luxury, yet Lily responds most to simple interactions, Alicia's gentle songs and finger games eliciting giggles that echo through the minimalist spaces. During her 3rd week, while organizing the medicine cabinet in Lily's bathroom, Alicia discovers prescription bottles that trigger her nursing student alarms. Pediaprid, a corticosteroid typically prescribed for inflammation. Phenobarbital, an anticonvulsant with serious side effects. 3 different medications treating symptoms without addressing an underlying diagnosis. Her training recognizes the pattern of treating a child with powerful pharmaceuticals without apparent coordination between specialists. She photographs the labels with her phone, researching dosages and interactions during Lily's nap time, concern growing as she calculates potential side effects. That evening, William returns earlier than usual, catching Alicia singing softly to Lily while preparing her bath, the domesticity of the scene creating visible conflict in his expression. He lingers in the doorway, neither fully entering nor leaving, a man balanced between worlds of corporate power and simple human connection. Mr. Montgomery, Alicia begins cautiously, still holding Lily against her hip. I need to ask about her medications. Something flickers across his face, defensiveness and vulnerability battling for dominance as he straightens his already perfect posture. The corporate titan reasserting control. What about them? He asks, voice carefully neutral though his eyes betray deeper concern. The conversation about Lily's medications leaves Alicia unsettled. William's explanations about various pediatric specialists prescribing independent treatments technically plausible but feeling incomplete. His defensiveness, suggesting deeper concerns he refuses to share. She exits Central Park the following afternoon, pushing Lily's stroller while mentally reviewing pharmaceutical interactions, when a sleek town car pulls alongside the walkway. A woman emerges with casual confidence, designer sunglasses, and an expertly tailored suit projecting calculated power. Alicia Carter, the woman says, her smile not reaching her eyes. Regina Winters. Her name registers immediately. William's main corporate rival, frequently mentioned in business news. Regina falls into step beside them, admiring Lily with practiced charm, while security personnel maintain discreet distance. She's thriving under your care, Regina observes. Much better than with previous nannies, though perhaps that's because you're not just giving her the medications without asking questions. The statement lands like a calculated blow, confirming Alicia's suspicions that something beyond normal pediatric care surrounds Lily's treatments. Has William told you about Montec Pharmaceuticals' pediatric trials? Regina continues conversationally, about children experiencing concerning side effects from experimental treatments, about families paid for silence after adverse reactions. The casual delivery of devastating accusations makes them more disturbing, like poisoned candy offered with a smile. Those medications you've been questioning, Regina adds, her knowledge of private conversations somehow unsurprising. They're managing symptoms from experimental treatments William authorized. He values corporate success above all else, even family. When Alicia remains silent, Regina produces a business card with elegant simplicity. My offer is straightforward, she explains. Information about William's pharmaceutical division, clinical trials, anything concerning Lily or other children, $100,000, no questions asked, complete anonymity. Alicia slips the card into her pocket automatically, mind racing with implications and uncertainties as Regina departs with a final comment about making the right choice for children who can't protect themselves. That evening, while William works late, Alicia uses his home office computer to access Lily's complete medical records, authorized as her caregiver, but feeling like an intruder. The password-protected files contain specialists' reports mentioning mild developmental concerns that the medications seem designed to manage rather than address. A folder labeled Family Medical History catches her attention, containing documentation about William's late wife Catherine's pregnancy complications and genetic screening results. As she searches for clarification about Lily's treatments, a subfolder labeled Military Medical Research Initiative reveals documents connecting Montec Pharmaceuticals to experimental treatments for traumatic brain injuries sustained in combat situations. A familiar facility name appears, Cedar Lakes Rehabilitation Center, the same hospital listed in her husband's final paperwork, the place that repeatedly lost documentation about Darnell's death. Her hands shake as she opens files, showing Montec's significant financial investment in the facility, specialized neurological research, and confidential treatment protocols. Photos of patients receiving experimental therapies include a black soldier whose face remains just out of frame, but whose physical build and distinctive birthmark on his left wrist matches Darnell's exactly. The timestamp shows the photo taken 6 months after she received notification of his death. Confusion and betrayal crash through her in suffocating waves, possibilities too terrible to contemplate crystallizing into horrifying questions. A noise at the office door causes her to turn, finding William standing in the threshold, his expression shifting from surprise to understanding to resignation as he registers what she's discovered. "I can explain," he begins, voice unnaturally quiet. "The documents, Darnell, everything." Alicia stands, putting the desk between them like a shield, heart pounding with fear and desperate hope. "Is my husband alive?" she asks, the question hanging between them like a live wire, dangerous and electric with potential. The explanation comes slowly over cups of cooling coffee. William's office transformed into confessional space as night deepens outside floor to ceiling windows. Yes, Darnell Carter is alive, though not as Alicia remembers him. Traumatic brain injury, severe memory loss, part of an experimental treatment program showing promise but requiring absolute confidentiality. William had discovered the connection only after hiring Alicia, his pharmaceutical division's military research having funded hundreds of veteran treatments. Her husband remembers nothing of his previous life, not his name, not his son, not his wife. The revelation leaves Alicia hollow with conflicting emotions. Gratitude for life, warring with grief for what remains lost. Anger at deception, battling hope for recovery. William's voice grows hoarse, explaining how government classifications and medical ethics created impossible choices, promising arrangements for her to see Darnell when he's stabilized. In the days that follow, their relationship shifts imperceptibly. Professional boundaries blurring as shared vulnerabilities create unexpected intimacy. Alicia observes William's interaction with Lily during rare, unguarded moments, catching him singing off-key lullabies when he believes no one listening or the tender way he traces her tiny features while she sleeps. His fierce protection of Lily reveals depths beyond the corporate facade, a father haunted by failure to protect her mother. One evening, while Jamal and Lily play under Eleanor Vaughan's watchful eye, William takes Alicia to the rooftop garden. Manhattan spread below them like a galaxy of earthbound stars. He speaks of Catherine, brilliant neurosurgeon who collapsed during childbirth. Catastrophic brain hemorrhage, taking her life while bringing Lily into the world. The specialists afterward, testing Lily for genetic markers, prescribing preventative medications against conditions Catherine carried undiagnosed. His voice breaks, describing constant fear that the same invisible time bombs might claim his daughter. Every developmental milestone shadowed by dread. Regina Winter's accusations crumble against this raw paternal fear. His pharmaceutical interests fueled by desperate hope to protect others from similar loss rather than callous profiteering. Trust builds gradually through these shared confidences, culminating when William finally reveals his true origins. Billy Montoya from South Phoenix, son of a house cleaner who worked herself into early arthritis, keeping their apartment in the safer part of dangerous neighborhoods. His voice softens, describing her sacrifices, 3 jobs and night classes, eventually earning nursing credentials, his first inspiration for hard work and education. The hardened businessman dissolves completely when he admits checking on Alicia's nursing program, anonymously funding scholarships after seeing her identical determination. "Sometimes I look in the mirror and don't recognize myself anymore," he confesses, standing in his multi-million-dollar penthouse, wearing a watch worth more than his childhood homes. All this success, this fortress of wealth and influence, and the most genuine human connection I've had in years, came from a waitress who saw me freeze when my daughter needed me. The vulnerability in his admission creates space for Alicia to share her own fears, the crushing weight of single parenthood, constant terror, that one mistake or stroke of bad luck might destroy everything she's built for Jamal. Their hands find each other without conscious thought, fingers intertwining as conversation flows with unexpected ease. Professional roles temporarily suspended by mutual recognition of shared humanity. The intimate moment shatters when Eleanor bursts onto the rooftop, tablet in hand, displaying breaking news headlines. Experimental pharmaceutical testing on billionaires. Baby screams the sensationalist banner above leaked copies of Lily's medical records, complete with genetic profiles and medication schedules. Photos of the penthouse accompany allegations of unethical treatment protocols and corporate cover-ups. Regina Winters quoted extensively, expressing grave concerns about child welfare. William's phone erupts with notifications as Eleanor explains that Child Protective Services has already been contacted, investigators requesting immediate access to examine Lily and review her care arrangements. The media firestorm engulfs them with stunning speed. Regina Winters masterfully conducting public outrage like a symphony of destruction. Morning shows feature medical experts expressing grave concerns about experimental treatments on infants, careful language avoiding direct accusations while implying monstrous negligence. Social media algorithms amplify hashtags demanding justice for Lily Montgomery, the same platforms that celebrated her rescue now hosting vicious speculation about her father's motives. William maintains stoic composure as the Montec legal team works around the clock, but Alicia catches moments when his mask slips, revealing raw fear of losing his daughter to a system that suddenly views him as potentially unfit. Child Protective Services arrives on a Tuesday morning. 2 investigators with clipboard efficiency and practiced neutral expressions. They interview William separately, examine Lily thoroughly, photograph her medications, and document living conditions with clinical detachment. When they question Alicia about her qualifications and observations of Lily's care, she provides clear, confident answers drawn from her nursing training, defending the treatment protocols as medically sound precautionary measures rather than experimental testing. The investigators leave without immediate determination, promising follow-up within 48 hours, their non-committal expressions revealing nothing of their conclusions. William's security team sweeps the penthouse that evening, discovering sophisticated surveillance devices in 3 locations, including the office where Lily's medical files were stored. Someone had been gathering information for weeks, a betrayal from within his inner circle. William paces the living room after the children are asleep, fury and vulnerability battling for dominance in his expression. "I built this company to help people," he tells Alicia, voice raw with emotion. "Catherine died from a condition we might have treated if we'd known. Everything we've developed, every trial and protocol, follows strict ethical guidelines." His distress seems less about stock prices falling and more about having his intentions twisted into something unrecognizable. Alicia receives a text message that night from Regina Winters' personal number, offering to double her previous monetary offer for cooperation against William and inviting her to meet privately. Instead of responding, she shows William the message, cementing their alliance against these manipulations. Following instincts honed by years of careful observation, Alicia begins investigating Regina Winters more thoroughly, using William's resources to trace connections between Winters' innovations, failed clinical trials, and their desperate need for Montec's neurological research patents. She discovers Regina previously approached 3 former Montec employees with similar offers, including William's recently resigned personal assistant, who had access to all security codes and files. The pattern reveals a calculated campaign to destroy William professionally and personally, using Lily as collateral damage in corporate warfare. Most disturbing is evidence that Regina obtained Darnell's military records months earlier, suggesting she knew about his condition and Alicia's connection to William's research facility long before the restaurant incident, raising questions about whether their meeting was truly coincidental. When Alicia confronts William with her findings, the realization dawns that Regina may have orchestrated events from the beginning, potentially even arranging Alicia's employment at Le Ciel, knowing William's regular patronage. The full scope of manipulation becomes clear when William's security chief discovers that Regina Winters secretly purchased controlling interest in the property management company that issued Alicia's eviction notice, timing perfectly with her job termination. What initially seemed like tragic coincidence now appears as calculated chess moves, positioning Alicia and William precisely where Regina wanted them, vulnerable to her ultimate attack. As they piece together the elaborate scheme, William's phone rings with news that Child Protective Services has scheduled an emergency hearing regarding temporary removal of Lily pending a full investigation, citing anonymous expert testimony questioning William's fitness as a parent. The request originated from a foundation with board connections to Regina Winters, the final move in her carefully orchestrated plan to separate William from everything he loves. The annual Monttech Foundation Gala transforms the Metropolitan Museum of Art into a glittering showcase of wealth and philanthropy. Attendees collectively worth billions mingling beneath Renaissance masterpieces. Despite legal battles and media scrutiny, William proceeds with the event, refusing to show weakness during crisis. Alicia stands uncomfortably in a midnight blue gown selected by Eleanor, feeling simultaneously beautiful and fraudulent among socialites wearing jewelry that could fund her entire nursing degree. The Child Protective Services hearing looms just 2 days away, casting shadows across William's outward composure, though Alicia alone notices how his hand trembles slightly when mentioning Lily's name. William's legal team successfully petitioned for temporary media restrictions protecting Lily's privacy. But photographs of Alicia appear regularly in tabloids, her background dissected by strangers speculating about her relationship with William. Regina Winters arrives fashionably late, her crimson gown drawing every eye as she navigates the crowd with practiced charm, accepting champagne from a passing waiter while strategically positioning herself near major news outlets covering the event. William acknowledges her with cool professionalism despite knowing she orchestrated his potential destruction, the elaborate chess game between them visible only to those aware of its complexity. Regina approaches Alicia during the cocktail hour, her smile razor-sharp beneath perfectly applied lipstick. "Such a meteoric rise from waitress to billionaire's companion," she observes, voice pitched to carry to nearby guests. One might wonder what special talents earned such attention. The calculated insult hangs in the air as conversations quiet, attention shifting toward them like predators sensing conflict. William's security chief appears silently at Alicia's side, discreetly passing her a tablet with information confirmed just minutes earlier. When William takes the stage for his keynote address, Regina moves purposefully toward reporters, clearly prepared to make her own announcement. Alicia intercepts her with quiet determination, placing herself directly between Regina and the press. "I know everything," she states simply, "about the surveillance, the bribed employees, the deliberate manipulation of my employment and eviction, most importantly, about your company stealing Monttech's research after your own clinical trials failed. The evidence proving your corporate espionage is being provided to authorities now." Regina's practiced smile falters momentarily before recovering. "My dear," she responds with forced lightness, "you clearly misunderstand business dynamics. Perhaps focusing on your nursing studies rather than corporate affairs would better suit your qualifications." The condescension fails to provoke Alicia, who merely hands Regina the tablet, displaying security footage of her former assistant removing files from William's office alongside financial transfers proving payment. William's voice from the podium draws their attention as he announces a new initiative inspired by personal revelation. The Montgomery Scholarship for Healthcare Excellence will fully fund education for single parents pursuing nursing and medical degrees while providing childcare, housing assistance, and guaranteed employment placement. The program, personally funded with $50 million, begins immediately with 10 students, expanding annually. Watching from different positions in the room, Regina and Alicia recognize simultaneously that William's announcement directly counters the heartless corporate monster narrative Regina carefully constructed. Applause erupts as William acknowledges his own humble beginnings, publicly embracing his origins as Billy Montoya from South Phoenix, raised by a single mother who sacrificed everything for his education. His gaze finds Alicia across the room as he introduces her as both inspiration and program director, her nursing background and personal experience making her uniquely qualified to shape educational opportunities for others. Security personnel discreetly approach Regina as William continues speaking, his security chief showing her additional evidence of corporate espionage significant enough to warrant federal investigation. The choice presented without words appears clear: immediate departure or public arrest. Regina exits with forced dignity, her carefully orchestrated destruction of William Montgomery collapsing completely as the gala attendees enthusiastically embrace his redemptive narrative and philanthropic vision. When William concludes his speech and returns to Alicia's side, their fingers intertwine naturally, no longer employer and employee but partners against adversity, their shared triumph visible in the gentle pressure of palms pressed together amid applause that celebrates transformation rather than wealth. The annual Montech Foundation Gala transforms the Metropolitan Museum of Art into a glittering showcase of wealth and philanthropy, attendees collectively worth billions mingling beneath Renaissance masterpieces. Despite legal battles and media scrutiny, William proceeds with the event, refusing to show weakness during crisis. Alicia stands uncomfortably in a midnight blue gown selected by Eleanor, feeling simultaneously beautiful and fraudulent among socialites wearing jewelry that could fund her entire nursing degree. The Child Protective Services hearing looms just 2 days away, casting shadows across William's outward composure, though Alicia alone notices how his hand trembles slightly when mentioning Lily's name. William's legal team successfully petitioned for temporary media restrictions protecting Lily's privacy, but photographs of Alicia appear regularly in tabloids, her background dissected by strangers speculating about her relationship with William. Regina Winters arrives fashionably late, her crimson gown drawing every eye as she navigates the crowd with practiced charm, accepting champagne from a passing waiter while strategically positioning herself near major news outlets covering the event. William acknowledges her with cool professionalism, despite knowing she orchestrated his potential destruction, the elaborate chess game between them visible only to those aware of its complexity. Regina approaches Alicia during the cocktail hour, her smile razor-sharp beneath perfectly applied lipstick. Such a meteoric rise from waitress to billionaire's companion, she observes, voice pitched to carry to nearby guests. One might wonder what special talents earned such attention. The calculated insult hangs in the air as conversations quiet, attention shifting toward them like predators sensing conflict. William's security chief appears silently at Alicia's side, discreetly passing her a tablet with information confirmed just minutes earlier. When William takes the stage for his keynote address, Regina moves purposefully toward reporters, clearly prepared to make her own announcement. Alicia intercepts her with quiet determination, placing herself directly between Regina and the press. "I know everything," she states simply, "about the surveillance, the bribed employees, the deliberate manipulation of my employment and eviction, most importantly, about your company stealing Montech's research after your own clinical trials failed. The evidence proving your corporate espionage is being provided to authorities now." Regina's practiced smile falters momentarily before recovering. "My dear," she responds with forced lightness, "you clearly misunderstand business dynamics. Perhaps focusing on your nursing studies rather than corporate affairs would better suit your qualifications." The condescension fails to provoke Alicia, who merely hands Regina the tablet displaying security footage of her former assistant removing files from William's office alongside financial transfers proving payment. William's voice from the podium draws their attention as he announces a new initiative inspired by personal revelation. The Montgomery Scholarship for Healthcare Excellence will fully fund education for single parents pursuing nursing and medical degrees while providing childcare, housing assistance, and guaranteed employment placement. The program, personally funded with $50 million, begins immediately with 10 students, expanding annually. Watching from different positions in the room, Regina and Alicia recognize simultaneously that William's announcement directly counters the heartless corporate monster narrative Regina carefully constructed. Applause erupts as William acknowledges his own humble beginnings, publicly embracing his origins as Billy Montoya from South Phoenix, raised by a single mother who sacrificed everything for his education. His gaze finds Alicia across the room as he introduces her as both inspiration and program director, her nursing background and personal experience making her uniquely qualified to shape educational opportunities for others. Security personnel discreetly approach Regina as William continues speaking, his security chief showing her additional evidence of corporate espionage significant enough to warrant federal investigation. The choice presented without words appears clear: immediate departure or public arrest. Regina exits with forced dignity, her carefully orchestrated destruction of William Montgomery collapsing completely as the gala attendees enthusiastically embrace his redemptive narrative and philanthropic vision. When William concludes his speech and returns to Alicia's side, their fingers intertwine naturally, no longer employer and employee but partners against adversity. Their shared triumph, visible in the gentle pressure of palms pressed together amid applause that celebrates transformation rather than wealth.